It's a warm welcome in our studios. This is Gttv News, and I am Aisa Tukoli. In the headlines this evening, the Ministry of Finance reveals that the country's debt has increased from $46.3 billion to $110.6 billion. The United Democratic Party during the weekend paid tribute to the fallen heroes with a peaceful march past with a call for justice and reparation for victims of Gambia. The Minister of Higher Education, Professor Per Gomez, on Wednesday paid a courtesy visit to the ongoing construction of the School of Dentistry, University of the Gambia in Banjul. A Nigerian socialite and businessman, Kobana chief priest, has been charged with abusing banknotes. Those are the headlines. Stay tuned for more details of the news right after the short commercial break. Welcome back. In case you're just tuning in, this is Gttv News, and I am Aisa Tukuli. We begin with the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, where the Finance Minister, Sidi Keita, revealed that the country's debt has increased from $46.3 billion to $110.6 billion as inherited debt by the borough government from Gambia regime. He made the revelation while giving an overview update of the country's economy at a press conference held within the ministry's headquarters in Banjul. More on this report. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs has given an update about the economic status of the country. Addressing a press conference at the ministry's headquarters in Banjul, Minister Sidi Keita revealed a staggering amount of debt of the country. Minister Sidi Keita said the country's economy has seen a positive growth between 2016 to 2024 compared to other countries in the sub-region. On the issue of inflation, reserves and banking sector, he said, despite a significant increase in inflation from 11.5% in 2022 to 17% in 2023, the Gambia's economy is safe and sound, with the cross-external reserves covering 5.6 months at December 2023. In revealing the Gambia's total debt stock, the finance minister also said the Gambia's total debt has increased from $46.3 billion in 2016 to $110.6 billion in 2023 due to the inherited large domestic and external debt from the previous administration. Costly domestic debt service obligation, high contingent liabilities stemming primarily from NAWEC and several loss-making state-owned enterprises. Debt restructuring during COVID-19 outbreak, Minister Keita also described the impact of the dollar's depreciation against major currencies and new borrowing to finance ongoing development projects in the country, which he added that the Gambia's total debt stock remains at high risk but sustainable as confirmed by the IMF debt sustainability analysis as a percentage of GDP debt stock, which is at 72% as at the end of 2023.
The past few years has been challenging due to the outbreak of COVID-19 and the spillover effect of the war in Ukraine and the growing impact of climate change and adverse weather events. Despite these challenges, significant improvements have been registered in the public financial management reforms, domestic resource mobilization, funding infrastructure investment from domestic resources to support inclusive growth and maintain overall macroeconomic stability. Significant milestones have also been recorded, such as the successful completion of the 3-year ECR program with the IMF for the first time. We had completed the IMF program before, but those were like standby arrangements, which were 1 year. And this was under the leadership of late Sheriff Sekuba Sise, his blessed memory. And we give full credit to his contribution. And we have begun a new program, but this one is a 3-year program. That's with the distinction. We also had a passing score of the MCC for 6 consecutive years, and our overall score for the CPIA assessment increased for the first time since 2017. We will say that reforms should be sustained to maintain the growth trajectory of resource mobilization and fiscal consolidation as the main input to improving and enhancing the living standards to achieve sustainable socio-economic development in the country.
On public finances, Minister Sidi Keita said the government of the Gambia has made tremendous gain in improving the domestic resource mobilization, aimed at strengthening the microeconomic and physical fundamentals of the economy between year 2016 and 2023, and that the government has generated revenue from domestic sources increased by roughly 134% from $7.6 billion in 2016 to $17.8 billion in 2023, representing an annual growth rate of 19%. He also outlined the total expenditure of the Gambia government from 2016 to 2023.
We've made tremendous increase in the domestic resource mobilization, and this has increased. The total domestic resources mobilized in 2016 was 7.6 billion. And the components are the tax revenue and the non-tax revenue. And this increased from 7.6 billion to 22.8 billion in 2024. But for 2023, which is the year we have just closed, it moved by more than 10 billion to 17.8 billion. So we are talking about a growth rate of more than 134% in the period from 2017 to date. These improvements reflect a robust effort of the GRA, which is geared towards enhancing the compliance and widening the tax base.
In a bid to free up physical space and boost the growth in public financial management, 8 series of PFM reforms have been implemented to ensure physical discipline and transparency, physical risk management, domestic resource mobilization, amongst others. Aisa Tukoli, Gambian Talents TV News.
Meanwhile, during the weekend, members of the United Democratic Party paid a homage to the fallen heroes of the party with a march past calling for justice. After the assembly, the members of the party held a memorial lecture in honor of the late Ibrahima Solo Sandeng, who died in the hands of the defunct National Intelligence Agency, Fatima Malen Mendy reports.
Addressing the third memorial lecture in respect to the United Democratic Party's fallen heroes, lawyer Usainu Dabo paid a somber tribute to Ibrahima Solo Sandeng and all others who had lost their lives in the fight to free Gambia from dictatorial rule.
Delineated this event to Solo Sandeng, but it was not only Solo Sandeng. It is for all those who have sacrificed over the years for the good of this country, in order to rid this country of undemocratic rule, to usher in the rule of law and responsible governance, all those who sacrificed one way or the other. I see Mr. Jao said that he is here not only as chairman of the Victim Center, but also as one who has an immense respect for Solo Sandeng. But I don't think I'll be wrong to say that, in fact, Mr. Jao, as chairman of the Victim Center, I think you have also been a victim. You lived in exile, and that is certainly an incidence of being a victim. A lot of things happen in your family, and you wished you were there, but you couldn't. And certainly, you qualify as, in my view, you qualify as one of the victims. So I said, the event, we just circumscribe and delineate to Solo Sandeng, but it covers everyone. But I also want to really concentrate more on Solo Sandeng, because April 14, 2016 was not the only time that Solo Sandeng went out in a very sacrificial undertakings for the party. I recall the Chamoy Bridge incident. He was in the midst of it.
The former vice president to name deceased Solo Sandeng as the country's Steve Biko, while adding that the deceased was betrayed by political party members who had agreed among themselves.
He, like many others, were herded like animals, put on board trucks, under the rain, escorted with the greatest humiliation, degrading human treatment to the police headquarters in Banjul. I recall Solo Sanden. I see him on top of the Gele Gele in Fast Njaga Choi, when he jumped out from the top of the Gele Gele and started pulling down mattresses for bedding for a period of at least 4 days. I remember Solo Sanden when he went into his bakery to bake bread to raise funds of about $3,000 in order to fund UDP's rally at Piram. I recollect that Solo Sanden. That was the Solo Sanden who never hesitated to offer himself as a sacrificial lamb. Natra sintela sada yantefa wala mu bankola sadati ayamfa. That was the greatest offer that anyone can make for the liberation of his country. On that fateful day of the 14th April, I yelled at Solo, and that is an act I have regretted the whole of my life and will continue to regret it because I do not have the means of facing Solo and say, Solo, please forgive me, accordingly. Because that was the day IEC was out to inspect the offices. And I was jittery that if the Manjai Bureau was not open for their inspection, that would be a good cause for really, deregistering the United Democratic Party. Little did I know that Solo was there with the inspectors. Because when I asked him, where are you? He said, at Bamboo. And I thought, really, he shouldn't be at Bamboo. And he didn't tell me how he was at Bamboo. And I yelled at him, I said, Solo, Tayata Mola officer Jani IC Ben register. He didn't respond. And he never responded to me. And he will never respond to me. He went out on the basis of an agreement with other people who belong to other political parties and other stakeholders. On reaching Banjul Pharmacy, all others fizzled away, except Solo Sanden and his few members of the United Democratic Party, Nogonjai, Fatu Kamara, Fatmata Jawara, this gentleman in Gunju, Gttv, Wakar Gttv, and Falang, and a few others. But all others who had agreed with him, or had agreed among themselves, all other political parties that agreed among themselves that they would be there, all of them abandoned the enterprise.
Fatima Malen Mendy reporting for Gttv News.
The Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Professor Per Gomez, has paid a visit to the ongoing construction of the School of Dentistry, University of the Gambia, in Banjul to receive first-hand information and updates on the progress of work on the ongoing construction of the School of Dentistry under the University of the Gambia. Modu Lamin Job has the rest of that story.
During his visit, Professor Per Gomez reiterated the government and his ministry's commitment in fulfilling the goals and objectives of the transformation process as far as the University of the Gambia is concerned.
Has given instruction for funding to be provided, over $30 million to be provided for as extra funds to really support for the completion of this work. So that's the assurance I want to give the health community and also the university, the Vice Chancellor and his team.
Gomez buttressed the importance of health in one's life, adding that the project needs all the required logistics to support the project. He assured the general public that anytime sooner, the construction of the buildings will be completed and can be able to graduate the first batch of students in dentistry by 2026.
The Vice Chancellor and his team, that government, the government is ready, as the President reiterated it yesterday when you paid that courtesy call on him. He's ready to champion the development agenda, the transformation agenda of higher education. And that's why he's willing to invest. And that's why he doesn't want to wait for anybody, any funding elsewhere. Our own funds will be mobilized to build and complete this school so that for the first time in the history of the Gambia, we have a school of dentistry. So that in 2026, the first batch of homegrown dentists will graduate from Banjul. That is the message.
Sehundong, the consultant who is responsible in overseeing the construction of the School of Dentistry, gave a rundown of the work, which is currently standstill due to some financial constraints and other related issues ranging from COVID-19 and the heavy downpours in Banjul during the initial stage of the work, thereby leading to delay of the work.
So there have been challenges to get to this point. There have been a few delays, and one of those is we know Banjul and we know that the water table is very high. And 2 years ago, we had very, very heavy rains. So this whole site had to be, mass excavation had to be done, all the rubble carried away and kind of brought back in. So that took a lot of time. So constantly you had pumps, getting the water out because the foundation had to be very deep for a building of this structure. And it also happened to be in the height of COVID, so that also contributed to, delays in the building. And also, like I mentioned, the temporary buildings that had to be temporary, not so temporary, I should say, that had to be, built before this building could be done. And, above all, finance. Finance has also been a challenge. And to this end, I also need to thank the contractor because they have submitted a certificate for a long time now, and that has not stopped them from doing what they can on site. So I think that also needs to be acknowledged. What the doctor has said, every building I think has a driving force. And I'll be remiss not to mention Dr. George and the efforts that he has been doing. He's been calling me every hour. That's imaginable about this building. And he's just doing it for love of country, nothing else.
Reporting for Gttv, I am Mulaman Job.
The Governing Council of the University of the Gambia has met President Adama Barrow at the State House to update him about the forthcoming 16th convocation ceremony of the number of graduating students from various fields of studies scheduled to take place at Faraba campus. More on this report.
Professor Robinson, Vice-Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, gave an overview detail of the outcome of their meeting with the Gambian leader.
About preparation for the forthcoming convocation ceremony to be held on Sunday, 21st April 2024. We had a very good discussion with the Chancellor, the President, and were able to update him on the number of students that are going to be graduating on Sunday. So we have, for the School of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, we have 38 students. For the School of Arts and Sciences, we have 280. For School of Business and Public Administration, we have 417. For School of Engineering Architecture, we have 30. For the first time in the history of this country, we'll be having graduates in civil engineering, 10 of them. We'll also be having graduates in electrical and electronic engineering, 4 of them. And of course, planning and design has been there. We'll have another 16 in that area. For School of Education, we have 214 students that will be graduating. School of Information Technology and Communication, we have 51. School of Journalism, adding to the pool of journalists, we have another 12 students in that area. Faculty of Law, we have 45 students. School of Medicine and Allied Health Sciences, which includes medicine, nursing, public health, we have 151 students. And for our postgraduate programs, which is the School of Graduate and Research, those that are doing masters and PhDs, we have 91, which includes over 10 students that will be graduating with PhD degrees. So we are extremely delighted to update His Excellency the Chancellor on the progress that the university has made over the years. And we look forward to working with our stakeholders to ensure that we can develop the provision of certain programs at the University of the Gambia. We are also expecting some guests from the sub-region as part of our convocation to come and grace the occasion.
For his part, the Gambian leader, who also doubles as the Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, commended the UTG and reaffirmed his government commitment in supporting the University of the Gambia in delivering good quality education and training. Aissatou Koli, Gambian Talents TV News.
The frequent breakdown of ferries' engines has disrupted river traveling between Banjul and Barra, plugging passengers into further financial troubles. The situation has been exacerbated by the recent engine breakdown of the Kanilai ferry barely a week ago, forcing the ferry service to withdraw both ferries out of service. Lamin MCC has the rest of that story.
Passengers and motorists are advised to take the Trans-Gambia route for their traveling, according to the Gambia Ferry service, following the withdrawal of both ferries from service. This debacle came amid continuous engine breakdown of vessel's engine, which has generated a heap of backlash from the public. Despite efforts to maintain the ferries, mechanical failures have been a persistent issue, leading to delays and cancellations. These breakdowns often result in long queues of vehicles and passengers awaiting crossing, exacerbating congestion and frustration. The latest being April 12, 2024, after the Kanilai ferry was stranded in sea for hours, leaving passengers on board worried and scared for their lives. After successful interventions, passengers were rescued to join their families. Due to its strategic location, people still need to cross on either sides of the sea to continue their daily businesses. Despite the fear of boarding the small boats, many people are still forced to use them since there are no other alternatives. This footage shows the challenges commuters face and how they are being backed on to onboard the boats. Reporting for Gttv News, I am Lamin Sisi.
From that story, we'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at news beyond our borders. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you have been reminded that you're still watching Gttv News. And now to internationals, where a Nigerian socialist and businessman, Kobana chief priest, has become the latest local celebrity to be charged with abusing banknotes. He has, however, pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of abusing banknotes during a court appearance on Wednesday. Alfunejalo reports.
Authorities say he threw money into the air at various social events. This is technically an offense as notes fall to the ground where they can be trodden on. The practice, known as spraying, is commonly done at Nigerian weddings and celebrations as a token of appreciation. On Tuesday, Nigeria's elite anti-crime agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, said it was leading a drive against all forms of naira, the currency abuse. The EFCC accused Okechukwu of spraying and tampering with 500 naira notes at events held this year in Nigeria's main city, Lagos. After being charged at Lagos Federal High Court, Okechukwu was given bail for 10 million naira, $8,600, 6,970 euros. Okechukwu, who owns a popular nightclub in Nigeria's oil-rich Delta State, addressed his 5 million Instagram followers after his court appearance, tagging his location as the federal court. He wrote, "Seeing all your messages and love, I am so humbled. Just 2 weeks ago, popular internet personality Bob Risky was sentenced to 6 months in prison for a similar offense. The judge said that the act of mutilating the naira notes has become a menace, which has continued to damage the image of the country. In February, actress Oluwadarasimi Omosin was also sentenced to 6 months in prison for spraying and stepping on new naira notes. On Sunday, the EFCC said that several celebrities were being investigated for allegedly abusing the notes, and many of them have made useful statements. Investigators. Funejalo reporting for Gttv News.
Heavy rain has been battering Gulf State, causing flash floods that have killed 20 people and disrupted flights at the world's second busiest airport. Dubai Airport said it was facing very challenging conditions on Wednesday. It advised passengers not to turn up as runways were inundated with water. Fatou Baji reports.
In Oman, rescuers found the body of a girl in Saham, bringing the death toll in the country to 19 since Sunday. Authorities also warned that more thunderstorms, heavy rains and strong winds were forecast, with many low-lying areas still underwater. The United Arab Emirates, Oman's northern neighbor, experienced on Tuesday its largest rainfall event since record began 75 years ago. The National Center of Meteorology announced that 254.8 milliliters had fallen on Hatam al-Sahla in the Emirates of Al Ain over less than 24 hours. The country averages 124 to 200 millimeters of rainfall per year, while Dubai typically receives only 95 milliliters. The monthly average for April is only about 8 milliliters. Footage from the center of Dubai showed dozens of submerged vehicles on a flooded part of Sheikh Zayed Road, as well as long traffic jams elsewhere on the 12-lane highway. British tourist Caroline Sabat, 29, from Leyland in Lancashire, told the BBC that she and her husband had headed to Dubai Mall on Tuesday morning because they had tickets for its aquarium and had not been warned by their hotel that it could be unsafe. Mrs. Sabat, who is 22 weeks pregnant, said the mall was flooded, ceilings were collapsing and the place shut at 7:30 p.m. They managed to catch a taxi in the morning, but it could not reach their hotel and drop them off at another mall on the way, she said. Another British citizen who lives in Dubai, Mos More, told the BBC that the storm was an incredible sight to see. He said his home was in an area on higher ground, so a little water came in, but they have managed with sandbags and towels against the door. No deaths were reported in Dubai, but an elderly man was killed when his vehicle was swept away in a flash flood in Ras Al Khaimah. Although the rain had eased by Tuesday evening, Dubai International Airport warned on Wednesday morning that recovery will take some time. The intense storm that began on Tuesday morning and continued through most of the day forced the airport to suspend operations for 25 minutes, divert several inbound planes, and cancel a number of inbound and outbound flights. For Gttv News, I am Fatmata Esbaji.
This story draws the curtain for this program, but before we go, here are the top stories once again. Ministry of Finance reveals that the country's debt has increased from $46.3 billion to $110.6 billion. The United Democratic Party during the weekend paid tribute to the fallen heroes with a peaceful march past with a call for justice and reparation for victims of Gambia. The Minister of Higher Education, Professor Per Gomez, on Wednesday paid a courtesy visit to the ongoing construction of the School of Dentistry, University of the Gambia in Banjul. A Nigerian socialite and businessman, Kobana chief priest, has been charged with abusing banknotes. Well, that's it from us in our studios, and thank you for the company. I have been your presenter in this news bulletin. From me and our production team, do have a pleasant night. Bye.